Right, and welcome everyone to another episode of Pints and Quarts, the weekly news podcast and recording from Craft Beer Nation. If you have been listening to the show before, you are just now finished listening to our new intro music, and there's a little piece at the end too. So that's like the interesting part after the credits of a movie. You got to stay all the way to the end to hear our little dumb ditty on the end. So that's thanks to some editing work from Gil Mello and Michael Tangid for that. So that is that. We are going to talk on, today is July 18th. It's Friday, July 18th, and this is episode 7. We're talking a little bit about the news in the craft beer industry, talk a little bit about a review. We've got one here from one of the guys in the craft beer community on Google+, and just kind of have a good time. So in and out in 30 minutes, and we will see how this goes. The first thing on the news line here is the Ballast Point just had their 18th anniversary. I guess it was back last week, the 13th of July, and congratulations to them. We interviewed them, I don't know, maybe a year ago, and they are doing beer and whiskey, and it's just all-around boozery. Have any of you guys had the... Oh, let me introduce the panel. We got Victoria Perigin, Lola Laracy, Gil Mello, and Doug Nolan with us tonight. And have any of you had anything other than their beer? Have you had any of their distilled spirits?
No.
Yeah, we're pretty much a beer crew. I know. I don't drink.
Well, I don't think they distribute over here. At least I haven't seen them.
Gotcha. All right. Well, that might just be more of a local thing there. But the Sculpin, which I'm a big fan of that. I've had their Habanero Sculpin on tap in San Francisco, and I think they're distributing, hopefully, to the East Coast, the Grapefruit Sculpin. So that's their flagship beer. That and Fisheye, I think, are just quite delicious. So congratulations to them, and look for another 18 years of good stuff, I think.
Yeah, I think they opened a jockey, some kind of jockey club or something. They opened a bar there, too.
A jockey club?
Yeah, no, it's like some kind of thing they were celebrating with their anniversary.
Oh, okay. It was a celebration kind of thing, yeah. All right. Well, that is definitely worth Googling around on if you like their beer, seeing the kind of stuff they're doing from San Diego. So, Victoria found a little bit of news this week about Harpoon Brewery.
Yes. As of August 1st, Harpoon Brewery is going to be employee-owned. So that's going to be kind of cool. They were founded in 1986, and they are the 12th largest craft brewery in America right now. So that's kind of cool that they're going to be owned. 48% is going to be employee-owned.
I would not have thought them to be that close to the top of large craft breweries. I mean, I've had some of their stuff, and it's good, but I didn't recognize they had that much reach.
I see their reviews everywhere, though.
Yeah.
We don't get them out here that I can remember, so they must pretty much stay on the East Coast or on that side.
Yeah. I like that as a business move. I like getting your employees to invest in the whole process and give them a little stake in the game. So I guess we'll watch to see how their CEO is stepping down in that process as well.
Yes, he's stepping down, but he will still be involved in the marketing part of the brewery, but he's not going to be the CEO anymore.
All right. Well, we'll see what their next move is, and if they choose to expand in the ever-growing market here the last couple.
Did they say how did they come out with that decision?
It doesn't really say why. He just said that it felt like it was the right time to make that kind of a change, according to the article or the press release.
All right. Well, that's good news. We'll look for more from them, and I shamefully haven't really had much of their stuff. I see it on the shelves. I just haven't gone for it. So maybe this is an opportunity to try.
Support workers instead of the man.
Right.
Instead of the man.
Instead of the man, we're going to support the little men and little women. We're going to support.
They cover every state on the East Coast plus Louisiana and Texas. So they're pretty.
So it is an East Coast
distribution.
Yeah.
I've never noticed them. I look up and down the Total Wine aisles, and I don't remember seeing that.
Yeah.
Well, you'll have to keep an eye out now, Lola.
I'll have to try.
Support the little man.
Well, I think, too, they distribute a lot in the states that Gil's saying, but even here, I don't recall seeing many of their things other than, I think, like their IPA and a few of their seasonals. They have a few, I forget what their limited release series is called, but they do something that a whole special line of beers that kind of pops up every now and again.
I kind of like their beers. I think they do good, and I hope now that employees gonna have that extra push to really get some good stuff out there.
Well, I drink a lot of beer, but I've got to say that what I've had is unmemorable because I don't remember it. So, I'd have to go to Untapped. I'd have to go to Untapped to be sure that I've had them. So, maybe this is a move to be a little more flexible and creative as well. Maybe. So, let's hope that's the case.
Hopefully.
All right, Doug found something. I've got a 30-pack sitting over an anniversary pack from this brewery, and I really should get it in the fridge and drink it. They've got this great 17th anniversary 17% beer that I've been dying to try, so I got to chill.
I know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Well, Schmaltz Brewing Company makes some fantastic beers, and I believe you're talking about one of their anniversary beers that came out not too long ago. Up until recently, they've been a contract brewery, and they've just recently built their own 50-barrel brewery. And I guess I'd say recently, it's about a year ago now. And they have, oh crap, something popped up on my screen here. Their craft beers have grown over 700% in the capital region of upstate New York since they've built this new brewery, and their total brewery output has increased 42% over 2013 already, and they are just brewing like crazy. It looks like they've now just put in 4 200-barrel fermenters, the total capacity of nearly 40,000 barrels. They are one of the top 100 breweries in the world now by rate beer. They've been winning medals left and right. It looks like you're really going to be able to start finding their stuff everywhere. They're now in 37 states. So.
Wow, I definitely will have to. The sampler pack that I have, I can see it, but I can't read the name of it. But it does have that 17th anniversary beer in it. That's why I bought it. But it also has a glass and a set of menorah candles. So
so you're the one. Okay, no, I've seen that set where you can turn them into like a menorah.
Yeah, it came out in the Hanukkah season last year. So I spin the dreidel, light the menorah. All right. Well, up 43% is pretty good growth. There again, I hope it's the good breweries that are growing. We were talking the U.S. Brewery Count. What were you saying? I can't remember what the number was.
End of July, they just passed 3,000 breweries in the U.S. And I think the cool thing about it is that 90% are small local brewers and craft breweries. So it's really booming. I think the number, if you want a specific number, was 3,040 breweries. And the way they did, only breweries that had notice from TTB were on that number. They didn't count any contracted breweries, so those are not part. So those are really breweries that are. I think the main thing is that they're paying taxes over beer and have a notice from TTB, and so that's their Brewers Association's chief economist. I think his name is Bart Watson. He was saying that although it looks like a big number, but we're far from saturated. The market is far from to be saturated with breweries. We have a lot of room for more breweries, and it seems that we're going back to that more local. The way it used to be, people were supporting and being more about their local breweries, which is cool. I mean, I think that's what the craft brewery movement is. It's nothing wrong to be everywhere, but it's cool to have your regional brewery, stuff like that. So that was a nice number.
And there again, that of that 99% that are the small and independent are the ones that we all have in our neighborhoods. I've got 3 of them here that brew less than 2 barrels at a time. They've got a 1.5 or a 1 barrel brew house, and they only brew 4 times a week. So you talk about Schmaltz Brewing. What is that? 400,000 barrels, or was it 40,000 barrels?
Their total brewery, they're 50. It's a brand new 50-barrel brew house with a 20,000-barrel annual capacity.
All right. That's an
I think
addition.
they're at 38 or 39 states.
Right.
They're
So
currently in 37 states, and their total brewery output was up 42%, which is about twice the national average last year.
Wow.
So now you're talking about comparing that to the guy who's brewing 10 barrels of beer a week. He's never going to have the 500 barrels a year kind of place, and there's a real market for that, and I really enjoy some of the creative things that the small guy can do, and not distributing. He's selling out of the kegs right out of the front of the store. Maybe he's got a bottler, a Blickman beer gun, and he's bottling up some bombers or some special stouts or some things like that. But I like the buy local, the small. I'm going to slide downtown for a pint, and this is where I'm going to go. So
it makes it more coveted.
I travel the whole country. In every state I go, I try to visit different places, different brewers. But the brew pubs has a special place on my heart. That place where you can go, have a pint, have food, and I hope that's a trend. You get more of those places. Having more brew pubs open. I think that's, for me, it's a pretty cool place to go and have that beer that they sell only on their local.
Somewhere there was an article I read this week, digging around, that said somebody thought that the market could support about 4 times more that number, especially when you're talking about the little guys. So, I don't remember exactly who it was. It might have been McGee from Lagunitas that was quoting that, saying that there's lots of room for the market to grow without really ruining it for anybody, because there's lots of room for more of these little guys to come out. So anyway,
the only thing those brewers going to have to be more alternative, brewing more things than IPAs and hoppy beer, because it seems that growing hops is not following the growth of breweries. So I think we need to see more beers, more wheat beers, alt beers, things that alternative, and maybe that's the way to go. And which for me, it's actually pretty exciting.
And I hope we can educate our listeners to enjoying some of those beers, because right now all Americans seem to want are the big hoppy monsters, and the more hops, the better they are, the faster it sells, or the more it gets hyped. But I do love an English pale, or I do love an English mild or an ESB, some things that don't require the kind of hop contracts that, can you imagine if Deschutes flooded the market with their fresh squeezed, and I don't know how Stone does it. Stone must have the best hop contracts in the world, and I guess they do it at the expense of everyone else who would like a tiny little bit of those hops.
Well, and there's nothing wrong. I love a hoppy beer. It's just it's good to go outside of that.
Yeah, it's
realm.
not going to be sustainable, and I guess that's where the brewers have to get creative, and they've got to, like you were saying, Gil, they've got to come up with some things that are delicious and something that they can make, something they can afford to make. Because if I'm not going to pay $10 a pint for an IPA, just because that's what the hops are costing me to put into it. So I guess I should say I'm not, but I might. Just paid $12 or $11.
It better be damn good, right?
I paid $11. I've got my very first Dogfish Head 120 in the refrigerator right now. So I never had it, right? Because I never saw it. Now I've got one, but it's like $11 for 12 ounces of beer.
I know, it's insane.
Yeah, but well, just off of that number, Gil, you said there were 3,400 breweries.
3,040. They
3,
gave a very specific number. There's probably more than that, but those are
those are the ones that are paying their taxes. The other ones are not paying their taxes.
Well, there's a lot of breweries being built and that are not ready, that were not counted. They only counted breweries that are fully working right now.
I guess.
So that number is going to keep growing by the end of the year.
If there's ever a headline that says a brewery was busted for tax evasion, I just hope it's Speakeasy. I mean, that just so perfect, Well, on that number, so there's 3,000 breweries in the United States, and 1,400 of them did get registered in the GABF this year. We talked about this a couple of different episodes. They changed how they were going to allow breweries. They were just going to we're going to have room for this number of beers, and we'll just divide that by however many breweries come in. So they opened it up not knowing what's going to happen. It looks like about 1,400. So
1,360 breweries.
yeah.
So they're going to have more breweries with less beer, like the same amount of beer, but each brewery have less beer on the.
Right.
They also they're doing something. They have what they call they're going to allow breweries to do the hall serving, so they can serve an extra beer on the booth or the tables that they have in the hallways, but they only have a total of 726 spots, so they're going to do a lottery to see which brewery is going to be able to
I've
serve
shown
on the hall.
Wow.
Yeah.
And
All right.
didn't they limit each brewery to 5 beers that they could enter this year?
No, it's the total. They can judge a little bit over 5,000. So they will take the total amount of brewers, divide by that number, and then
It'll be
each
3 or
brewer will
4.
be.
Oh, okay.
So and that actually might be all right, because it seems like every brewery was putting in like all their year-round stuff and getting judged on everything. Now maybe they'll have to be a little more choosy and specialize and decide what they want to get judged there. So I don't know. Maybe it'll make the awards a little more meaningful. I don't know. I guess the brewers probably have a different perspective on that too. It's not meaningful if you're not judging all my beers.
Right.
All right. Well, then let's shift gears a little bit and talk about some sad news that Lola dug up here this week.
First of all, this was a coincidence. I actually didn't think about what beer I was drinking, but I'm drinking Oscar Blues Governor, and I didn't even think about it. And then I started choking, and I was like, oh, I'm dirty purple. Oh my God. No. All right. This actually is not in their manufacturing plant. It's in one of their restaurants in, let's see, where is it? Longmont, Colorado. In their restaurant called Oscar Blues Homemade Liquids and Solids. 24 employees were evaluated Sunday afternoon after being exposed to chemicals. Let's see, actually 24 employees and customers said they had been exposed, but only 24, well, that's 24 people went to the hospital. And everyone's expected to recover. And they think this is the result of a defective 200-gallon water heater. So I think they need to check their equipment. I'm not in Colorado, but I'd be thinking twice before I went there, at least for a little while. But I'll still drink their beer because their beer is fantastic. At least, huh?
So this was not at the brewing operation. There was nothing contaminated at the brewery. This was at one of their restaurant front sides.
Yes, and it was immediately in the restaurant. It wasn't in the beer being made or anything.
Yeah.
So
it could have happened at anything. It's news on our show because it happened at a brewery restaurant, but it could have happened at a Chuck E. Cheese.
Could have happened at Olive Garden. It could have happened anywhere. Although I hope Oscar Blues kind of looks at their equipment a little more closely now.
Yeah, well, I think their liability policy is going to require them to.
I think so. They may be paying a lot more money for that liability policy too.
Yeah, but some equipments like that, they can fail without notice, you know.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure it's not their fault. I mean, things happen. Whenever you go out, there's always a chance that something's going to happen. A piano's going to fall on you. Who knows? You know, there's a chance every time you go out. So.
I bet that at the brewery they have a guy who runs the line every day, checking every single valve and everything. You know.
Yeah, they're going to be extra careful for a little while.
Yeah, and then I worry about 3 months when they stop being careful, and then what happens?
Yeah. Well, I guess we can all be worriers and whatnot, but they'll get it cleaned up, they'll get it put back together, and we'll go back to eating there, right? So.
Yeah.
I like the sounds of liquids and solids. That's clever.
Although it reminds me of like bathroom a little bit too. It's like, okay.
Way too small.
Now.
Huh?
I said it didn't make me think of that until now. Now I won't be able to think of anything else.
Liquid or solid? Which one are we doing?
Now one or two.
Oh my.
All right, to keeping the show above water here, let's move on to the review of the week. We're going to talk about Terry Bunch, is in the Google Plus community and is a big fan of metal, like the music, like driving guitars and long hair, and craft beer, and I think those are pretty good. That's a pretty good mix, don't you think? So, but he's got a website called BeerAlien.com where he reviews music, concerts, and beer. And this son of a gun got himself a bomber or 2 or 5 of the Woot Stout 2.0. Came out. So
Nice.
yeah, I agree. And this guy's article is now escaping me. Stand by while I click the link again. But yeah, so his blog is at BeerAlien.com. So I guess maybe beer's his first love since he got right into the title there. But his tasting notes on it, which I'm very interested in, but I don't believe this is going to get as far east as I am, so I'll have to just enjoy through his review here. But he says you're immediately hit with the aroma of nuts, cocoa, vanilla, and bourbon. There's just a hint of licorice in there as well. This beer alien who likes to talk in the third person can happily tell you that they have improved upon Woot Stout 1.0. 2.0's chocolate stands out while waking up the other ingredients to create a complex layering of flavors. Slightly bitter with a strong vanilla and rye flavors. The bourbon and pecans flow through, adding their magic to each sip. A warm and subtle heat from the bourbon gently reminds your throat that it's there. So yeah, that's a. I like his descriptions there. I'd like to get a bomber of that myself. But has anybody heard if it's coming east to where we are?
Yeah. I have not seen anything.
I don't know.
I didn't know how much they're making this time, because the last time was a big deal, so they had it. I mean, I remember like everybody wanted it, and I bought half a dozen of them, and then said, "Oh, I have the beer. Do you want me to send it to you?" And then, "Oh, I got it," and everybody all of a sudden got it. So.
Yeah, well, I appreciate the one you got me because I drank it. It was good. Just like 2 weeks ago. So I thought it was good. It was boozy, but for a big stout like that was what I would expect. There was no aging it. I was going to drink it fresh. So thank you to Terry Bunch. Come hang out in the craft beer community on Google+, read more of his stuff, and if you like metal and you like craft beer, then you really need to circle this guy. So we'll see you there in Google+ land. And the last little bit of news we want to talk about before we get into releases and festivals is Victoria's going somewhere tomorrow.
Well, it's a festival, so I don't know if you want to wait to the
That's a
end.
good segue then.
Yeah, it's the Real Wild and Woody Festival. It's the inaugural event. This is the first year they're doing it. And it's a beer festival, but it's focused on specialty brews. None of the breweries that are coming are going to have their regular everyday stuff. It's going to be stuff that like barrel aged or one-offs or whatever, but it's not going to be just what you would find normally at the brewery. So it's going to be. I'm pretty excited about it. It's all local breweries, although Firestone Walker's going to be there, but mostly they're all from Arizona. Looks like from looking at the beer list.
What from Firestone Walker? Boy, didn't they just release that? What was that, Gil, that made you all green with envy? Their Oktoberfest?
Yeah, I saw him put that picture up.
They want to break my bank this month. Like, they got the Bretta Weiss that came out,
wow.
And then have the Oktoberfest and the last edition of the DBA. So some good stuff out there from Firestone Walker.
All right. Well, if you're in the Phoenix, or I'm not Phoenix, Tucson.
Yep, Phoenix. It's up in Phoenix.
It's up in Phoenix. All right.
Yep.
Hit the. I'm not gonna try and say it. There were a bunch of words in there. Wild Woody.
The Real Wild and Woody.
Real Wild and Woody Festival.
Yep.
Their very own Victoria Page in there.
Yeah. And I'm actually going to be helping pour beer for Mother Road Brewing tomorrow.
That will be fun.
Yeah, that will be fun. All right. You're
Yeah.
gonna be pouring for Mother. What was it called?
Mother Road Brewing up
Mother.
in Flagstaff.
All right, because there's a Mother Earth Brewing too, isn't there? That
Yeah,
must.
this is Mother Road. It's a nod to Route 66. They are right on Route 66 up in Flagstaff.
All right, very cool.
Now, Victoria, every other beer you pour is for yourself, though, right?
Sure.
That
Yeah.
would be my stipulation. I'll pour beer, but at least every third is going to be for myself.
Yeah, I already got a sneak peek of what they're going to be bringing, and it's a pear sour.
Interesting.
Yeah. So I'm looking forward to that.
You get by the end, you get like Victoria walking out with a wheelbarrow and carrying like.
Yep.
That would be awesome. Steal them all.
Well, it looks like Port Brewing is releasing a Bourbon Barrel Santa on July 19th, which I really, really hope that's a typo and not a Christmas beer release.
No, it's their beer. There's a Santa Claus and the deer. They're all in their shorts, sitting in a pub.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So it's Bourbon Barrel Santa. Green Man's Jacko's Gold is coming out on Thursday. Noda is brewing a What Goes Round, and that actually came out today. I don't know if Ashley is up there today, isn't she? I think she went to Charlotte today. She couldn't pass up on that release. Then the Firestone Walker Bread of Ice. Hairpin's got a variety pack that's coming out, which includes Liquid Bliss. And is that not one of those side projects? It was the peanut butter porter. Anybody remember? I think I drank that. So
yeah, that's one of those special. They actually gonna have a couple special beers onto that variety pack. They said they want to do something special for that Terrapin.
Well, good. I'm going to have to try and find that, because that Liquid Bliss, I bought as many bombers of that as I could get when it was out. Festivals, there it is right there in front of me. The Real Wild and Woody at Tempe, Arizona, Phoenix area. Sierra Nevada's got beer camp in 2 places. The Southwest edition is in San Diego on the 20th of July, and the Rocky Mountain edition is in Denver on July 25th. Rhode Island's Summer Brew Fest is coming on July 20th to Providence, and Oregon's Brewers Festival, which is their 27th annual Oregon Brewers Festival, is Portland, Oregon, the 23rd to the 27th. So Hops on the Hill in Green Bay, Wisconsin is on the 24th. Denver Summer Brew Fest is in Denver, surprisingly, the 25th and 26th. So that's a rundown of those kind of things. Was there anything we wanted to add in here before we cut the show down? All right. So let's wrap this thing up. That was 30 minutes of the beer news from the last week from around the U.S. and we have done it. We're done. We're going to do it again next week. I think we're going to be in an off day next week because of some scheduling. So watch for the event, watch for the podcast, and subscribe to YouTube and iTunes and all that kind of good stuff. So we are here from Craft Beer Nation, Pints and Quarts. It's been fun. And until next week, get the good beer, hang out with some friends, and mind your P's and Q's.